How's it going, everyone? This video, I wanted to share with you my top 5 favorite free plugins that you can use to mix vocals. I know a lot of you guys are always asking me, what plugins to use, and are these free plugins that I'm using. And so this video is going to show you some free plugins that you can use. A lot of times I'm not using free plugins, so I'm going to share with you a few of my favorites. At the number 5 spot, we're going to be using, it's not really a plugin, but it's more so a program, and it's called KeyFinder. I think you guys are going to really like this one. I know sometimes you guys are having trouble finding the auto-tune key or the key of the beat, whatever you're using. So this program's free, and it'll tell you the key of whatever beat you're recording to. So it's really simple. All you do is you just drag in whatever beat you're using, and then you click Run Batch Analysis, and then the key will show up right here under Detected Key, and it is C major. So if you see a lowercase m, that just means it's minor. If there's no lowercase m, that means the key is major. So in this case, the key would be C major. So at the number 4 spot, we're using a plugin called, I think it's Ptech or Ptech by Ignite Amps. And this is a really cool EQ plugin, and it's emulating the Ptech EQ. And there's a Waves version of that as well, but this is a free version, and I think it sounds just as good or very close to the Waves version. And there's a little bit more features actually than the Waves version, but this is an EQ that's not graphical. This is going to force you to use your ears, which is what I think a lot of you guys should be doing in the first place, because mixing is more so using your ears, not visually looking at the EQ. So you can use this plugin to give your vocals a high pass filter down here. So that's usually where I start off at. So this is going to cut out your low end. So I'll play a little example, and song we're using is from DJ Ghost. I'll leave his social medias in the description. So I'm going to give you a little example of the low cut.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm you bang. Put it in your brain. Never knew your name, never knew your brain.
So as you can see, it's cutting out the low end, and I usually keep it, for this vocal specifically, I'm going to keep it at like 80 because he's got a lot of deep frequencies in his voice. So I wouldn't want to cut too much of that out. And then I use this high band right here. So you choose the high frequency you want. And in this case, I'm using it at 12K. I'm giving it a nice boost to give it some more top end on the vocals, makes it like cut through and shine. And then there's this attenuation knob, which is really cool to use as well on vocals, because this smoothens out the vocals if they're too bright or they're sounding too harsh. So what I do is I'll set it to 20K, and then this will bring down those super high frequencies to kind of smoothen out your vocal. And I'll give a little demo right here. So first I'm going to boost the high frequencies, and then I'm going to smoothen them out with the attenuation knob.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain. Never knew your name, never knew your brain. Get up on my face, stuck in my ways, nigga.
So as you can see, you could kind of play around with that, but these two knobs are very powerful. You can really give your vocals, that nice sheen, that high presence, making it sound like expensive and then not too harsh at the same time because of this attenuation knob. And you can mess around with some of these as well. Like there's a low boost, which is also really amazing. You can use this on kick drums or even instrumentals if you use it right. And it's just boosting up the low frequency over here. And then up here, this is the mid range. You can also mess with that. Great plugin, Ptech EQ by Ignite Amps. At the number 3 spot, we're using a plugin called MJuc Jr from Klangelm. It's a German plugin company, and this is emulating a tube compressor. And this is a really awesome, super easy to use compressor, and it sounds great on vocals. You can use it on other things as well, but we're going to demo what it does to vocals. So there's really only a few knobs you're worrying about, which is the compress, makeup gain, and then your time constants. So your compress is just telling the compressor how much to compress. Makeup gain is how much you're turning it up after the compression. And the time constants right here is adjusting your attack, release. I think it's also ratio, and then it's adjusting your harmonics as well. So you can mess with these. And I'm going to play what it's doing here.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain. Never knew your name, never knew your brain. Get up on my face, stuck in. Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it.
So as you can see, once I turned it off, it kind of threw the vocals back and sounded a little bit inconsistent. And then when I engaged it, made them sound a lot more present and upfront. And you don't necessarily have to knock off 7 dBs like I'm doing. That's a little extreme. But a cool tip you can do with this plugin is you can actually use 2 instances of it. So you have 2 versions of it. And what I'm doing here is on the first instance, I'm setting the time constants to fast. And then on the second version, I'm setting them to slow. So instead of using 1 compressor knocking off a ton of dBs, you can use 2 to kind of make your compression a little bit smoother sounding, which is I think is a really cool thing that you can do with this plugin.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain, never knew your name, never knew your rank. Get up out my face, stuck in my ways, nigga. See, I be sliding, skating, doing the most. Don't trust bitches, that's one of my favorite quotes. A cold nigga in summers, I wear a coat.
So as you can see, turning them off and on really actually makes a significant difference in how the vocals sound as far as presence goes. So that's MJuc JR from Klanghelm Plugins. At the number 2 spot, we're using a plugin called Luftikus. I think that's how you pronounce it, by LKJB plugins. And this is a really cool EQ plugin as well. A little different than that other one I showed you. And this one also has frequency bands that are set in place. And this is kind of cool because it makes it a little bit easier on you guys to EQ your vocals. And again, it's not a visual representation of the EQ. You more so have to use your ears. But my favorite part about this plugin is this high boost over here. And you can set it all the way up to 40K, which is really, really high frequency. But I think it gives it a really nice, smooth high end to the vocals. And it sounds amazing. And then there's also a little trim knob here, which is cool. So you can turn down the volume of it after your EQ.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain, never knew your name, never knew your rank. Get up out my face, stuck in my ways, nigga. See, I be sliding, skating, doing the most.
And then I'm also using this mid band right here at 2.5K, giving it a little boost to kind of put it up in front and kind of cut through the mix a little bit. And you can mess around with these knobs as well.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain, never knew your name.
Really great EQ plugin as well. And that's Luftikus by LKJB Plugins. And at the number 1 spot, this is by far my favorite free plugin right now, Valhalla Supermassive. And this plugin is really, really amazing because you can use it as a reverb and a delay. And you could also use it as a chorus plugin as well, because there's a lot of features that you can really adjust on this. It's a really amazing plugin. I'll show you how to use it for reverb first. So I'm having a bus send to number 3, and this is the instance we're using. And if you want to use it for a reverb, you turn the density all the way up. As you can see at the bottom, that little description right there is 0% discrete echoes, 100% echoes quickly turn to reverb. So if you want it as a reverb, you turn the density up, and then I turn the mod. This is modulation, so I usually will turn this off if you don't want it to make some weird modulation sounds. And then you can adjust the feedback, and then the delay is just how long your reverb is going to decay. So here's how that sounds.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain, never knew your name, never knew your game. Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain.
So this song, I'm not really using a ton of reverb in the first place, but you could really get crazy with this. And here's how it sounds turned up.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain.
So as you can see, you could really go crazy on this, and there's tons of options in here to really just go crazy and make some insane sounding reverbs and echoes. And then I'm using another instance of it over here for an echo. So I turn the density down to 0, warp 0, feedback 0, modulation 0, and then there's the EQ section here too, which is amazing. You can cut out the lows and the highs, which is what I usually do anyways on a reverb or echo plugin.
Come feel my pain, stay in your lane. It'll blow your mind, I'm Kurt Cobain. Put it in your brain, never knew your name, never knew your rank. Get up out my face, stuck in my ways.
So for this, I'd probably automate it a little bit so the echoes are only at certain points in the song. That is Valhalla Supermassive at number 1. I will have links to all these plugins in the description, and go check them out. They're free plugins. They sound amazing on vocals, and there's just so much you can do with them. And hopefully you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe. And if you need mixing and mastering, don't hesitate to reach out to my email. It will be in the description. And thank you guys for watching.